Welcome students to the chapter 7, Control and Coordination. Let us learn about the terms stimuli and coordination. Any changes that are taking place in the environment due to which living organisms respond to it are called as stimuli. For example, let us take that in a classroom, someone has dropped a pencil and it had made a noise, due to which the whole class will turn and see where the pencil has fallen. So the changes that has taken place in that class is that a pencil had dropped and a noise was formed. And that noise, because of that noise, all the students responded by seeing towards it. So what was the stimuli that the students got? It was the noise, and you all responded. Second, coordination. For a proper response to a stimulus, many organs work together, and the working together of various organs produce a proper response to a stimulus, and this is called as coordination. Singular is stimulus, plural is stimuli. In animals, control and coordination is done by nervous system and endocrine system. In plants, control and coordination is done by chemical substances called as phytohormones. Phytohormones means plant hormones. Let us take the example of phototropism that takes place in plant. You can see over here that this is a plant. It is a growing part of a plant, and it has got a growth hormone, that is auxin, which is shown by the purple dots. And this is a sun above it. As the sun is moving, the auxin is concentrated on the shaded area. Auxin never is found on the sunlight side. It is always moves towards the shaded part. And since it is a growth hormone, the elongation of this part is being taken place. So see, this is the size of this side is only this much, and elongation of this side has taken place more. And due to which, because of growth of this, the plant is bending towards the sunlight. You always see that the plants bend towards the sunlight. This is because of auxin. Another example is that of a plant that is called as a Venus flytrap. It is a carnivorous plant. It has got hairs on it. And as soon as an insect touches the hair, it will close and entrap that insect inside it. And it will digest. And because of that digestion, it will get nutrition. So what is the stimulus this Venus flytrap got? The insect. And what was the response? It closed. Another example is that of a pizza. You all know the smell of the pizza. It is reached to a receptor. Receptor means there are 5 sense organs in us. So one of the sense organ is a nose. It has reached to a nose, and the message has been conveyed to a control center, that is a brain. The brain will give the message back to the effector muscle. Effectors are normally muscles. Here it is a watering mouth. The effector is the mouth. There, that is watering. So this is the response that the dog had given to the stimulus it has received in the form of smell. Plants do not have nervous or an endocrine system. Responses to the stimuli in plants are coordinated by hormones. Hormones are chemical messengers, and they respond to factors such as the light, gravity, water, and temperature, which we will be learning in detail when I will be discussing about it. Coordination in animals is mainly done by the nervous system and the endocrine system. The nervous system consists of nerve impulses by the neuron from one organ to another. These impulses are give short-lasting responses, and they are not specific in action. The hormone control consists of the endocrine system, which secretes chemical messengers hormones directly into the blood. They produce a longer lasting response. An action of hormones is highly specific. Let us take an example of a hormone that is a growth hormone. It has got a lasting response. In adolescence, the person is growing. So it is a longer period of longer response. Let us take the example of a nervous control. If my hand has touched a hot object, what will happen? I'll remove my hand from it. And it is a short lasting response. I'm not going to do that for a longer period of time. It is for a very short time. That means this action response was not only specific that removed my hand. I even moved apart. I did so many actions along with it. But the growth hormone is doing a specific action of growing only. Likewise, there are many other hormones which does specific actions, which we will be learning in detail later on. Let us study the differences between coordination in animals and coordination in plants. So we all know very well now that in animals, the coordination is mainly done by the nervous system and the endocrine system, whereas in plants, it is mainly done by the phytohormones. In the nervous system of animal consists of the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. Plants do not have such system. Hormones are secreted by the endocrine glands. In plants, the hormones are secreted by cells. It is not that some part of the cell will do function. The roots, the tip parts, the trunk, each part of it consists the hormones and they contribute towards working it. Animals secrete hormones such as the growth hormone, adrenaline, thyroxine, testosterone, estrogen. Plant hormones are auxin, gibberellin, cytokinin, abscisic acid, ethylene. You must remember these names of plant hormones and animal hormones. So this was the difference between the plant hormones coordination and animal hormones coordination, animal hormone coordination. Now let us understand the similarities. Similarities means in both plants or animals, we saw that there are hormones which help to control and coordinate. And both animals and plants, they respond to the external stimuli. Let us study in detail about coordination in animals. We will first be learning about the nervous system. The nervous system is made up of the brain, the spinal cord, and the nerves. All the control system includes the receptors, the sensory nerves, the motor nerves, and the effectors. Receptors are mainly the sense organs. We have got 5 sense organs. They are the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin. They will receive the stimuli and pass the message to the brain or spinal cord through the sensory nerves. So first the receptors are going to receive the stimuli. The sense organs are going to receive the stimuli and they'll pass this to the sensory nerves. So the sensory nerves are going to carry this information to the brain and the spinal cord. This brain and spinal cord will again pass on the message back to the motor nerves. These motor nerves will give message to the effectors. The effectors are muscles and the glands, and they will give response. So these are the 5 sense organs: the ear, the eyes, the nose, the tongue, the skin. All these sense organs receive stimulus in different form. The skin will receive stimulus in the form of touch, temperature, pain, the tongue in the form of chemicals, the nose again in the form of chemicals, the eye in the form of light, and the ear in the form of sound and the position of the head. The effectors mainly include the muscles and the glands, and they produce a specific response to a detected stimulus. For example, a muscle contracting to move an arm, a muscle squeezing saliva from the salivary gland, or a gland releasing a hormone into the blood. Just the second one, we have learned how the dog mouth was watering. It is because it had received a stimulus, and that was the response it gave. Now, how the messages are signaled and received. We have just learned that there are which types, we just learned, let me go back, the receptors. So we'll be starting from the receptors. All this, any of the sense organs will receive the message. So the receptor will receive the message. The message will go to the sensory nerves, from the sensory nerves to the brain, and from the brain it will come back to the motor nerves. This motor nerves will again different parts of the brain back to the muscle that is an effector, a skeletal muscle. And how it has branched, you can see over here. The branch ends at a motor plate of a single muscle fiber. So this is how the messages go to the brain, and they are come back to the effector muscles, and we give response accordingly. This is again one of the most important topic when it is asked in the exam. What is a reflex arc? In the reflex arc, the path is we receive the stimulus. Because of the stimulus, the receptor, any of the sense organ will receive it. It will pass it to the sensory neuron to the relay neuron to the motor neuron to the effector, and then we give a response. So the neurons work together to make a reflex action. This reflex action takes place when we need to respond in harmful conditions, like we're touching something hot, something have pricked our hand, something that is in emergency that we have to respond for a quick action. There are sneezing, coughing. It is also a type of a reflex action. Even when you're sleeping, your eye movement is there. So there are 2 types of eye movement. One is a reflex action eye movement also. So there are different types of reflex action that you will have to remember. So here is a reflex arc that you will have to draw during the exam whenever a question is asked. You can draw the spinal cord in the form of a butterfly. There are 2 butterflies, one inside the other. That is a shape I've told you. You don't have to say that. It was to make it easy, I've just used that word. So this is the spinal cord. This is a hand. So here a reflex arc is made. The person has unknowingly kept his hand on some hot surface. So what happens? Immediately the message will go from the sensory nerve to the spinal cord, back to the effector, that is a muscle, and person will remove the hand from the hot object. So this is a reflex arc, which is quite different from what we learned over here, that the message had gone to brain. So in a reflex arc, what happened? The message had not gone to the brain. You got the message right back from the spinal cord. It gave you a message to remove your hand. Okay, so you should be knowing this topic very well. Draw this figure. You can write this, that here the receptor is a skin in which the stimulus was obtained in the form of a temperature change. The sensory neuron to sends the electrical message to the spinal cord. That is a relay neuron that is located in the spinal cord. And then it will connect back to the motor neuron and sends an electrical impulse back to an effector. The effector produces a response, that is, the muscle will contract and you will move your hand away. This is a topic that how do animals' muscles move? I've written this exactly from a paragraph in the form of points from your textbook. And it is a textual question also. I'll just read that how do animal muscles move? The nerve fibers at the end of a neuron are attached to the muscles. We just learned that. This is a nerve fiber and this is a muscle. So the nerve fiber is attached to the muscle. So the nerve fibers at the end of a neuron are attached to the muscle. And this area is called as neuromuscular junction. When the nerve impulses are conducted to this area, there are special proteins that are present in the muscles. And these proteins change the shape and arrangement in the cell. The new arrangement of these proteins gives the muscle a shorter form, thus bringing about the movement of the muscles. We can see over here. This is a nerve and this is a muscle. And the messages are given to the muscle. These are the proteins. They change their shape because of which the muscles move. We will be learning about this also later on. Again, a topic will come that how the nerve impulses move between two neurons. So these nerves at the end will release a neurotransmitter, that is acetylcholine. We will be learning about that also. So you should know that this is a nerve ending, this is a muscle, and when it sends electrical impulses, what happens over here? The proteins that are found in the muscles, they change the shape, and because of that, the muscles move. Let us understand about the biceps and triceps that are found in our hand. So this is a straight hand and this is a bent hand. So the biceps and triceps work in coordination with each other to make the animal muscle in the hands to move. So when the hand is straight, the bicep, that is a muscle that is on the front, will be relaxed and the tricep will contract. And when you bend your hand, the bicep is contracted and the tricep is relaxed. So the biceps and the triceps work in a will coordination movement to make the muscle move. Now we will learn about neurons. This is a bundle of cells. They are called as nerves. The unit of nerve cells is called as a neuron. They carry electrical impulses from one place to another. A bundle of neurons is called as nerves. and they are of mainly three types: sensory nerves, motor nerves, and relay nerves. A neuron is mainly made up of two parts: a cyton, that is called as a cell body. This is a cyton. It is called as a cell body. And it has got cytoplasm in the nucleus. And second one is a process. The process are of two types: a long process. This is a long process, axon. It is so long. And this is a short process. Here, cyton, above the cyton, short. So this is short, that is dendron, and this is a long, that is a axon. Both of the endings, dendrons, they end with dendrites. They are branched. And here also you can see the axon end is branched. The axon is covered with the myelin sheet. It is a protein. This myelin sheet is not continuous. It is in the form of various different cells. Neurons are of sensory neuron, the relay neuron, and the motor neuron. Neuron is the structural and functional unit of a nervous system. It has a cell body called cyton, which has a nucleus and a cytoplasm. It is branched structure called dendrite. It has got a long fiber that is called an axon, which has got a protective covering above it called as a myelin sheet. The two junctions between the two neurons is called as synapse. The messages that pass through the nerve cell is in the form of chemical and electrical signals, and therefore it is called as nerve impulse. Electrical signals in the dendrons and axons, and inside the cyton and between the two neurons, the messages are in the form of chemical signals. The dendrites, they receive the information and starts the chemical reactions which produce electrical impulses which pass through the axon. So this is a synapse which is found between the two neurons. The electrical impulse travels around the axon. It will trigger a nerve ending of the neuron, and it will send a chemical message in the form of neurotransmitters. Neurotransmitters are transmitted from inside to outside in this place that is called 3. So again, see one number, the electrical impulse is traveling. Second number, the neuron releases neurotransmitters. This chemical, that is the neurotransmitter, diffuses across the synapse. This is a synapse, that is the space between the two neurons. And it will then bind with the receptor molecule of the second neuron. The receptor molecule of the second neuron binds only to the specific neurotransmitters released from the first neuron. And this stimulates the second neuron, and it will transmit the electrical impulse. That is how the messages are transmitted. So here you can see that this is a synapse, that is the space between the two neurons. Here the neurotransmitter is released by the neuron. Here you can see it is being released. It is being, the receptor receives it, and then the messages will pass down in the form of electrical impulse. The human nervous system consists of CNS and PNS. CNS means the central nervous system, and PNS means the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord, and it contains relay neurons. The peripheral nervous system is made up of the cranial nerves, that is a nerve that is found on the cranial part, the spinal nerves, that is around the spines, and the peripheral nerves. It contains the sensory neurons and the motor neurons. The central nervous system is made up of the brain and the spinal cord. This is a yellow part, is a spinal cord. See the spinal cord on the back side. It is well placed inside the vertebral column. The brain is well placed inside the skull so that the damage do not take place. So the CNS is made up of a brain and the spinal cord. The brain is protected in skull. The spinal cord is protected in the vertebral column. The purpose of the bony skull is to protect the brain from injury. It is formed of 8 bones that are fused together along the suture lines. These are the suture lines and they are fused together. This is a vertebral column and inside it, this is a spinal cord. Here you can see about the vertebral column. It is divided into cervical part, thoracic part, the lumbar part, and the sacrum cocci. Here you can see the blue part. This is the brain and this is the spinal cord. This is a spinal cord. So this blue part is a cerebrospinal fluid, CSF. It is a colorless fluid which is found in the brain and the spinal cord. Its function is to provide a mechanical barrier against a shock. When an individual suffers from a head injury, the fluid acts as a cushion, dulling the force of distributing its impact. This fluid is found between the meninges. So the brain and the spinal cord are covered by 3 layers of tissues and they're called as meninges. And in between the meninges is the CSF, that is the cerebrospinal fluid. So the cerebrospinal fluid supports the brain, provides a lubrication between the surrounding bones and the brain and the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system can further be split into 2 parts, the somatic nervous system and the autonomic nervous system. The somatic nervous system is responsible for conscious perception and the voluntary movements of the skeletal muscles. Voluntary movements means the movements that take place according to our will. The autonomic nervous system is then further divided into sympathetic system and the parasympathetic system. They are responsible for involuntary control of the body, means the controls that are not with our will. For example, the respiration, the digestion, they don't take place with our will. So they are mainly controlled by the autonomic nervous system. The major division of the brain. The brain is mainly divided into 3 parts. The forebrain, this is a forebrain. The midbrain, this is a midbrain. And this is a hindbrain. The forebrain has a cerebrum, and the cerebrum is the largest part of our brain. You can see over here, it is the largest part of our brain. It has got cerebrum. It is divided into 2 hemispheres, the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere. Each hemisphere is further divided into lobes, and there are 4 lobes: the frontal, the parietal, the occipital, and the temporal. Forebrain is the thinking part of the brain and controls voluntary action. So whatever thinking we are doing is being controlled by the forebrain and also our voluntary actions. So it controls the smell, hearing, taste, sight, mental activities, all related to our sensing organs. The hypothalamus is a link between the endocrine system and nervous system and it is located in the forebrain. You should be knowing because this is a line that is there in your textbook and you should be knowing. We will be talking about hypothalamus in the animal hormones. So what is hypothalamus? It is a link between the endocrine system and the nervous system, and it is located in the forebrain. The midbrain controls the involuntary actions and the reflex movements of the head, neck, and eyes. And the hindbrain, which consists of cerebellum, pons, and medulla. The cerebrum controls the body movements, posture, and balance. Pons control respiration, and medulla, it controls unconscious activities such as heart rate and breathing rate. These all are one-liners, and you should learn who controls the respiration. Pons. Who controls the body posture? The cerebellum. So again, this is a pic of a brain, and you can see the cerebral hemisphere. You can see here the cerebellum. This is a pons, and they are directly connected to the spinal cord. The cerebrum, which is the largest part of the brain, that is a forebrain, is divided into two hemispheres, the left hemisphere and the right hemisphere. They are connected here. This is a connection part over here. They are connected to each other with the help of a nerve fiber called corpus callosum. The surface of the brain, almost the outer part of the brain, is called as a cortex, and it mainly contains nearly 16 billion neurons. Thank you so much.